Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Northern Star Council's $1 Million Day for Scouting. My name is Isaac Enriquez. As a member of Troop 228 from Our Lady of Guadalupe Church, it is my pleasure to welcome you to this annual leadership breakfast. This is a big crowd. I will say I am a little bit nervous, but it'll be good. I have been in Boy Scouts since I was 7 years old. Today, I am in 10th grade, and I am excited to be your MC. Thank you, longtime volunteer Will Zolbeck, for your bugle call gathering us today. Thank you also to the explorers from the Opportunities in Emergency Care Explorer Post. Hopefully, you were not alarmed when you walked into the mock first aid scene upon arrival. Through this co-ed post, kids gain the skills to work in EMS, including first aid, CPR, first responders, and more. To lead us in our opening ceremony, I would like to call upon members of Troop 5 from St. Ambrose Church in Woodbury. As our honor guard approaches the stage, I would like to remind everyone to please turn off any cell phones to avoid disturbing our neighbors. Thank you.
Would the audience please rise? Scout attention. Color guard advance. Scout salute. All those not in uniform, please place your hand over your heart. Color guard, please post the colors. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color guard, return to ranks. Scouts at ease. Thank you. You can be seated.
Thank you, troop members of Troop 5. I would now like to call upon members of Opportunities in Emergency Care, Taylor, to lead us in an invocation.
Will you please pray with me as we remember that a scout is reverent? Almighty God, we ask your continued blessing upon our nation's children. Bless our partners across this community and bind us together in ways that strengthen us all. Hear our prayers for the families who depend on our conviction and courage to do our best. We are thankful for your gifts and the opportunity to give to others. This we ask your name. Amen.
Thank you, Taylor. And thanks to everyone for attending this morning's event. A special thanks to event chair Brian Burnett, his committee, and all table hosts. Your personal commitments, support, and efforts make this event a resounding success. Our goal over the next 24 hours is to kick off our 2018 Friends of Scouting campaign by raising $1 million towards our ultimate goal of over $3 million. Today, we ask you to do two things. One, invest in scouting so that all youth have life-enhancing opportunities and become prepared for life. And two, share the scouting message with the community. But first, I would like to invite Assistant Chief Scout Executive Patrick Sterrett to share a few reflections.
Good morning. Couldn't quite tell. Did you say 1 million or 1 billion? I couldn't. When John Andrews, your Scout executive, asked me to come this morning and say a few words, I was thrilled. It's actually my first time as Assistant Chief Scout Executive to be out in the community. I started a whopping 3 weeks ago. And this morning, when I was kind of thinking about my thoughts and reflections, I had my first reflection as I was scraping the ice off of my window, and I looked at the dashboard of my rental car that said, "Warning, low temperature outside." Thought to myself, that's something I haven't seen in about 3 weeks. So that's my first reflection to you this morning. Let me comment and say what an exciting time it is for me to be joining the Boy Scouts on a national level. I've spent my time working in New Hampshire for the Boy Scouts, Washington, D.C., Delaware, and Indianapolis, and I can think of no more exciting time than right now to be engaged with the Boy Scouts with all of the hope and excitement and change that comes our way. This council here is certainly not new to change. In all my travels since 1988, I have heard about this council. I have heard about the innovation and change that comes from this council. And I want you to know from an outside perspective that you are highly thought of and revered as second to none across our nation as a Boy Scout council that's advocating for youth and advocating for change, advocating for the values that we want to instill in young people. With our most recent decision to include girls into Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, I want you to know that on a national level and in local council conversations, we thought of our Scout Oath and we thought of the Scout Law, and we asked ourselves the question about, are those values that we're trying to instill specific to one gender? I want you to run through those words for those of you that are Scouts here. I'll pick just a few. Trustworthy, kind, cheerful. Duty to God, duty to the community, serving others. Are those things that we should limit ourselves to only young boys to become great young men, or should we open ourselves up to be an advocate for all youth? That decision became pretty easy as we thought of those words. So as an Eagle Scout, as the son of an Eagle Scout, as a brother to another Eagle Scout, as a father of 3 Eagle Scout children, clearly I think I can stand to you and say I feel like I'm a product of the movement. And as I reflect back on our 100-plus year history, I look forward with enormous excitement about what's to come and the hope and excitement that the Boy Scouts of America will have in our communities. Thanks for having me here this morning. Let's enjoy our breakfast, and I look forward to hearing your program.
Thank you, Patrick, for your thoughtful words. I would now like to invite you to take a few moments, enjoy your breakfast and fellowship at your table. Our program will resume in 10 minutes. I hope you guys are all enjoying your breakfast and conversations at your tables. As you guys may know, navigating life is not always easy. That's one reason why Scouting exists, to help kids, point out kids just like me in the direction for your lifetime. Over the past 12 months, tens of thousands of Northern Star Council youth have been particularly busy preparing for life. As you continue eating, please join me in watching our most recent highlight video.
I look forward to earning my Eagle rank because it will show people what I'm capable of, and it will show the people who said I couldn't do anything that I can do something. I also believe it will help me out for future jobs or colleges I apply for, because being an Eagle Scout will show people that I can commit to doing something and that I can accomplish any task at hand.
Everything I just told you were the sum total of what I took away from scouting, it would be obvious that the time invested was worth it, and I reaped far more than I sowed. And yet that barely scratches the surface of what scouting has given me and can give you and your sons. Scouting provides a beacon, a compass, a guiding light, and a camaraderie that has lasted for more than a century and transcends national boundaries.
As you can imagine, 2017 has been action-packed for all Scouts. I, myself, have had the chance to attend the National Jamboree, which I thought was an awesome experience. When I was at the Jamboree, mountain biking, I flipped over the handlebars and fell. That was a crazy story. And one of my favorite parts of the Jamboree was the day of service. We fixed up a mini baseball league field for the local kids. In 2018, I look forward to your help in giving kids like myself more chances to get out into the natural world, embrace opportunity, overcome obstacles, and make new discoveries. Your financial investment today will keep Scouting strong and continue to prepare youth for life. Now, I would like to call upon Northern Star Council President Bill Brody to share a few additional highlights. Bill, please come forward. Bill, are you out there? No. I think I'm getting something on the video feed.
Don't drop.
Whoa, here I am outside at base camp, and that was my highlight of 2017. Big things are happening for the Northern Star Council. The construction of the Leadership Center here at base camp will ensure that Scouting continues to be a positive influence in the lives of 100% of the youth in our community, as well as be our council's new home base. This outdoor high ropes course has just been rebuilt to ensure that team building and problem-solving programs are fun and exciting, both for Scouts and non-Scouts. That ride through the air really woke me up, so I'm headed inside now to tell you more about Scouting highlights from the year. Good morning. When they told me I was going to be council president, they didn't tell me I was going to have to do that. That was quite an adventure. Our STEM committee sure is good, being able to transport me back here from base camp so quickly. As Patrick mentioned earlier, we are excited to begin incorporating girls into Cub Scouts. We have a few items to adapt to, And lucky for us, we have had more than 45 years of experience serving girls in our co-ed venturing and career exploring programs to help prepare us for leadership in that area. We're very much looking forward to the experience. You may also be wondering about our relationship with Girl Scouts. My daughter Josie is in the Girl Scouts, and I value the experiences she's had. I have 2 boys in the Boy Scout program as well. We have a good relationship with the Girl Scouts and have partnered with them in membership drives, volunteer opportunities, and community leadership. We are committed to finding the best opportunity for all kids to thrive. I believe the more kids involved in Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, the better. And with all the talk lately about kids and the differences between generations, like the millennials, a quote from Chaim Janat, a prolific author, is appropriate. Parents often talk about the younger generation as if they didn't have anything to do with it. We are here today for the next generation. If we want to brag about the next generation, we should all step up and do something good about it. Thank you for being here, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to lead the Northern Star Council.
Thank you, Bill, for your grand entrance and your thoughtful words. It is my pleasure to introduce Anderson Corporation retired Vice President and Scout volunteer, Jack People, for the purpose of presenting this year's Scoutmaster of Philanthropy Award. Jack, please come forward.
Thank you. Good morning. It's my personal pleasure and honor to present this year's Scoutmaster of Philanthropy Award to another Anderson retiree. This is the first time that we'll present this award posthumously to an individual who is a role model for philanthropy. The Scoutmaster of Philanthropy is not an award for personal giving, but it's much greater than that. The Scout organization looks at the bigger picture and what long-term financial support can mean to a community and an organization. This award recognizes Harold, who understood fully that philanthropy also includes asking others and making good decisions about the use of financial resources. Harold was the kind of a person who helped replace windows in one of the Scout facilities, but then also left bequests of $3.5 million in his estate to our council to replace windows and more forever. This example hopefully will inspire many of the others to make a leadership difference. Where did he learn about philanthropic art of being both a volunteer and a donor? It was at Anderson Windows. Fred Anderson had a tradition of giving back to the community and everyone who would participate in what he referred to as the magic circle. Fred and Kitty Anderson were recipients of the Silver Beaver Award, and of course there's a scout camp named after Fred, and he was also at one point for the Indian Head Council president. I'm proud to be a trustee of the Fred C. and Catherine B. Anderson Foundation, and we have with us another longtime director, Mary Gilstrom. Mary, would you please stand and be recognized? Harold also learned from another Anderson retired CEO, Bill Hewlings, and his wife Betty Hewlings, whose legacy is in the form of the Hewlings Service Center on Marshall Avenue in St. Paul. And they will live on as the Hewlings Fund to take care of base camp. Bill and Betty's son-in-law, Dr. Art Kemmer, is with us today. And unfortunately, his granddaughter obviously got caught in traffic, but she can't be with us. But Art, would you please stand and be recognized? Harold also learned firsthand on the things about philanthropy from Earl and Nida Swanson, who were longtime supporters of the Scouting organization. It is for this example that Harold and each of you have set, for the confidence he inspired among us, for support and honor. And this point, we honor Harold Meisner with the Scoutmaster of Philanthropy Award. At this time, I'd also like to introduce his nephew, Dennis Meisner, who is with us today and representing his family. Now, if I can ask for a moment of silence for Harold and all of the great Scouters that have passed away this last year. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack, for your kind words and your kind thoughts. I now have the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker, Andy Gannon, and sharing the beginning of his story. Andy was in a great mood because he had just closed a big deal at work. He was heading north about a fourth of the way across a 35W bridge when he heard cracking and breaking. He watched the bridge buckle and flip cars up in waves. Andy thought he was going to die. The bridge flipped his car up. He landed. Then the bridge dropped and he began to free fall. He assumed, this is it, I'm going to drown. And his life flashed before him. When he realized he was not in the water, he looked around. It was complete chaos. He grabbed his cell phone to call Kim, his wife, to say goodbye. He reached her voicemail. This is the call to Kim.
So how's that for an entrance? And by the way, there are a lot of people up here, Isaac, and I'm a little nervous too. Just want to set my timer real quick. Be prepared, the Scouts' motto. Can anyone truly be prepared for free-falling 52 feet on a collapsing bridge? I say yes. Maybe not for the accident itself, but for what you do after. I say this because of my actions that day are what I learned from my days in scouting. That day, when I woke up August 1st, 2007, began like any other day. Gave my wife and kids a kiss goodbye, went on to work. I was working downtown Minneapolis at the time. And that day we had a goal that we had to reach for an event that we were hosting. And it would be the first time that we didn't sell out this event. So we had this goal to reach. Towards the end of the day, we had kind of thought, well, this isn't going to happen. We're not going to sell this last sponsorship. Well, I reached out to a prospect and I was able to sell the deal, a large deal. Like Isaac had said, I was in a great mood. I sold this deal and I was the hero of the office. But because of this hero, this opportunity that I had, that I sold, little did I know that less than an hour later, I would be put into the worst moment of my life. So had I not sold that deal, I would not have been on the 35W bridge collapse, and I would not be up here talking to you. So when I left the office, I was in a great mood. I was listening to my favorite group, Rush, and I got onto Washington Avenue. And as I'm driving down Washington Avenue, I looked at my gas gauge and I thought, wow, I'm between a quarter and empty. Oh, I've got enough gas to get to Roseville. You see, I was going to a wake. A coworker of mine's father had passed away the previous Saturday, so I was going to support her. I live in Apple Valley, the complete opposite direction, but I was heading to Roseville to support my friend. So I thought, I think I can make it. I'm notorious for running it down to empty, where my wife is literally, when she gets half full, she goes and fills it up. So as I'm driving down Washington Avenue, I had this anxiety over me. I thought, can I make it? Can I not? Oh, I can make it. And I realized the last chance I have is Bobby and Steve's on Washington Avenue. I'm sure a lot of you out here know downtown Minneapolis. Well, as I'm driving and this anxiety's over me, my wife's voice comes into my head and she says, if you ever run out of gas in the metro area, don't call me because I will not come and help you. And literally that's what she said, and I agree. So this think cloud came up and I thought, wow, she's right, which she usually is. So at the last second I pulled into Bobby and Steve's, and lo and behold, when I pulled into Bobby and Steve's, this is about 5:45, 5:47 on a Wednesday evening. That place is packed, it's crowded. Well, lo and behold, when I pulled in, a car had left and I got the pump right away. That never happens. And I'm thinking, this day is getting better and better. Unbelievable. So I pulled in and I get gas. Well, most people would fill up full, right? I had $5 in the console of my car and I thought, I'm in a hurry. I'll just fill up the $5 and get going. That's smart. So I fill up the $5 and I was there after, I found out after from Bobby and Steve's, they did a video surveillance, that I was there 2 minutes and 1 second. So if I don't spend that 2 minutes and 1 second, I may not be on the bridge. When I pull out of Bobby and Steve's, I get onto Washington Avenue and I take a right. But before I take a right I'm on a side street. And when I get to Washington Avenue, I look to my left and the car's heading from the west to the east to get onto 35W. The next set of wave of cars comes. So I don't come to a complete stop. I would have got a ticket if a police officer was right there, but I roll through it because I'm thinking, I'm in a hurry, and if I have to wait for these cars, I'm gonna be here all day. So I roll through it. If I come to a complete stop, I'm not up here talking to you. I guarantee that. That second wave of cars, that next wave of cars was so full that it would have pushed me back. I would not have been on that bridge. But I get out. And as I'm going down Washington Avenue, I think there's one last light. I want to get through that last light right there at Bobby and Steve's to my right. And I'm getting through, I'm pushing through, and I'm the last car through. And as I get through, I see 3 cars pass me. And I'm thinking, don't do it, don't do it. Now those 2 outer lanes are supposed to go straight ahead to 7 corners. The lane I'm in is the left lane to turn onto the 35W bridge. And I'm thinking, don't do it, don't do it. And I lean over and I see the 3 cars, and there they are. They stop and put their left blinker on to get in where we're at. And I used some really choice words for those 3 individuals because I did not like what they did. But let's remember those 3 individuals for a second here. We'll get back to them in a second. As I'm going down the on-ramp, it's bumper to bumper. And I looked down because what happened was they were doing construction on the outer lane, on the northbound lane, and the inside lane on the southbound lane. So when you got down to merge, it wasn't a free-flowing merge. You really had to wait and let somebody let you in. They had orange barrels lined up. Well, when I was going down the on-ramp, I looked to my left because I saw this flash go by. And a car had went on the construction side through the barrels and bypassed all these cars and then jumped ahead of myself and everybody in line. And I thought, what a jerk. When I get on the highway, I'm gonna catch up to this guy and see what an actual jerk looks like, because that's that guy. Well, now there's the 4th car, because if you see where I landed, you see where I'm placed on the bridge, those 4 cars push me back 4 spots into probably the best spot to be in for any amount of feet that drop, 52 feet. So those 4 cars potentially saved my life. Those jerks potentially saved my life. So it goes to show you just don't know. So after, we described a little bit about what happened on the bridge. I won't go into too much detail about the drop, but once I landed, I was going for the rear end of the SUV in front of me. And the only time I said anything out loud ever during this whole incident was when I crammed on my brakes, because we were all still in drive. And so when I landed, I'm heading right for the rear end of this SUV, and the only thing I said was 3 times, no, 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 and I crammed on my brakes and I swerved to avoid hitting him. Had I hit him, I would have pushed him possibly over to the next spot. But I just bought the car in January, and immediately I could smell the brakes. And the first thing I said to myself was, my brakes. Then that went away quick. Then watching the rest of the bridge drop down into the water, it was in slow motion. I'm watching it and I cannot believe what's happening. The bridge goes in the water, the piece is in front of me, and there's a huge splash. And then there's this big dust cloud. The dust cloud comes past my car, I can't see anything. And after that dust cloud, there was this 3 to 5 seconds of the most eerie quiet I've ever heard in my life. It was so quiet that you could stick your head out the door of this hotel and yell my name and I would have heard you that day. I thought I actually died. I thought, well, that didn't hurt. Then that went away quick. So I left the voicemail and I proceeded to get out of the car, and I look across and there's the school bus and I hear all the kids screaming. So I jump over the median, and if you can go to the slide, that's the next slide. And then one more. So that's my silver Chrysler Pacifica right there. When I jumped over the median, you could see that tarp that's laid out there. I'm not kidding you. When I was in the air, because I ran and put my hand on it and flipped over because I'm so athletic. I was maybe 10 years ago when this happened, but when I was in the air, I saw the tarp, and I remember thinking in my head, no, they put a tarp up to block something that they were covering. So I remember thinking, I'm gonna fall through this hole. Now this day is getting worse and worse. I end up landing, not going through a hole, and helping out at the school bus. We helped all the kids off the school bus and handed them down over to the side where people were waiting there, rollerbladers, bikers, people just walking, that we handed them down, and then the kids went over to the grassy knoll, for lack of a better word. I then proceeded to the Tasty Bread truck, where when I approached it, I couldn't even see his cab. The concrete was so dumped on top of it, but I could hear him in there screaming. So there was nothing I could do. I could just see this concrete, but there was nothing I could do. So within minutes, it caught fire, and he could obviously scream more. He did not make it. So the survivor guilt is probably what I'm dealing with the most, is should I have went there earlier? I shouldn't have called Kim. I shouldn't have helped the kids that long. You deal with those things, but you overcome these things. So when I was able to meet up with my wife later that night, it was probably about 2.5, 3 hours later. And when we met, we were up at about 7 Corners right in front of that Holiday Inn. And all the news stations had actually lined up doing their coverage. Well, when we embraced, CNN had all their cameras lined up, and we happened to embrace right in front of them. And I'm emotional, I'm crying and telling her what's going on. Well, towards the end of it, somebody from CNN, one of the camera reporters, came up to me and said, "Were you on the bridge?" And I said, "I was." And he said, "Is this your wife?" And I said, "It is." And he said, true story. He said, "Would you two embrace again so we could get this on camera?" True story. Now you want to talk about fake news. Fake news. So we proceeded to go get help. I got some first aid. My wife, even though I was fine, my wife wanted me to get some first aid and check it out, and it was just complete chaos. It was organized chaos, actually. But then when we got to, when we were leaving, it was probably about, because I was there, till 10:30, and I was interviewed by the NTSB, the FBI, the local police, and what they did is they sequestered you. They put us in this warehouse across from the Red Cross, which I think that building is gone now. But if we were in a car full of 4 people, they put one person there, one person there, one person there, one person there. They sequestered you because they did not know what was going on. So we were able to, after being interviewed for them with these organizations, my wife and I proceeded to her car, because we weren't using mine. But she said, "I don't know where I parked." We had just moved back from Utah. My wife didn't know the city very well. She goes, "I don't remember where I parked, and I didn't pay for parking." I said, "Don't worry, honey. I'm sure they're not worried about giving us a parking ticket, and if they are, so be it." But I remember as we were walking to the car, she had the older car, and I saw the antifreeze that leaked out as we were walking. The old me would have said, "Oh boy, the antifreeze, dang, darn," would have been upset. I remember walking up to it, and we both looked at each other, and we said, we could go hand in hand and walk to Apple Valley. This is irrelevant. I was a performer in the opening and closing ceremonies of the 2002 Winter Olympics in Salt Lake City, and as a gift, they gave us a video, and in the video were 3 quotes. And these 3 quotes, I thought these are really cool, but they didn't really resonate until August 1st, 2007. And I view these quotes much differently now. The first quote, "The sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being." So what is our light? Why are we here? What drives us? What motivates us? Scouting can be that first light, a light that gives some kids a fighting chance when they may not have any other chances. The second quote, "The most glowing successes are but reflections of an inner fire." So before I get to this one, I want to tell you something funny. When I first started speaking about my experiences on the 35W bridge and life after, I was rehearsing it with my wife and 2 daughters. My wife was in the middle on the couch. My little daughter was in 1st grade at the time on the left of her. My older daughter was in 6th or 7th grade at the time on the right. And I get to this part, "The most glowing successes are but reflections of an inner fire." My little daughter starts giggling. My wife goes, "What?" She whispers up into her ear, and then my wife starts laughing. "Say it again, say it again." So I said it again. "The most glowing successes are but reflections of an inner fire." They start laughing again. My older daughter asks, "What's so funny?" My wife whispers down, tells her. She starts laughing. "Say it again, say it again." "The most glowing successes are but reflections of an inner fire." My little daughter goes, "You said but reflections." So now, when you read this, and when you say this, I challenge you to not think about your own butt reflection. But the most glowing successes are but reflections of an inner fire. So scouting can be that first ember to start that inner fire. Scouts learn skills that will last a lifetime, including citizenship skills, leadership skills, self-confidence, ethics, and how to get along with others. The last quote, and my ultimate favorite, I listen to this every day, I have it on audio. "But what lies behind us and what lies ahead of us are tiny matters compared to what lives within us." If you think about that quote, I don't know how you can't take something from it. Because think about it. What's been in the past is the past. You can only learn from it. Can't keep talking about it. You got to let it go. What's ahead of you is prepared. And the motto, "Be prepared," is huge. And you should be prepared. But you aren't guaranteed to get to that point. You are not guaranteed tomorrow. We all know that. So what's inside you is the most important at every moment. And I think the values that you learn from scouting are invaluable. You live in the moment with these skills. These values are used every day at real time. Trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, cheerful, brave. These we use daily, and you learn this from scouting. I was speaking one time and up in Toronto, and I met a gentleman, an older gentleman, that came up to me, and he said, "Andy, great speech, whatever, you said you're a better person now. Do you ever think you'll go back to the person you were?" And I said, "Well, if I'm here now, if I was here and I'm here now, I know for a fact I'll never, ever, ever be here. I'll always be here. But right now I'm here." He said, "I'm going to give you 2 scenarios, and I want you to tell me what you would do pre-bridge and post-bridge." And I said, "Go ahead." He said, "You're walking around one of those lakes in Minnesota. I know you got a lot of lakes down there." He said, "It's broad daylight and you approach a couple. They're walking at you, you're walking at them, they see you, you see them, you say good morning. And they don't acknowledge you, they just keep walking. The other scenario is, you're walking into an office building and you look back and there's a woman with all these boxes. There's no way she can open the door without your help. Now there are people behind her coming through in the parking lot, but you thought, there's no guarantee that someone's gonna help her, I'll help her. So you open the door, she sees you and says nothing. And I started smirking, and he knew what I was smirking about. So I said, the first scenario, pre-bridge, I probably would have said, possibly, well, bad morning, woke up on the wrong side of the bed, maybe something snide. Post-bridge, I wouldn't have said anything, but it would have bothered me. The second scenario, I know what I would say because I said it. And I look back now and I'm ashamed, but I said, "You're welcome." Post-bridge, I don't think I would say that. I know I wouldn't say that, but it would bother me. Well, he went on to say, "Well, Andy, why did you why did you say good morning and why did you open that door? And I said, because that's what you do with community. You welcome them, you say something nice, and then you open a door, you help people. He goes, was that really why you said good morning and why you opened the door? And I said, well, yes. He goes, are you sure? And I said, yes. He goes, are you sure? I said, yes. He said, I'll give you one last chance. Why did you do that? Are you sure? And I said, I am absolutely sure. He said, are you sure you didn't say good morning to that couple because you needed to hear good morning? You needed to be validated? You don't know what's going on in their world. For all you know, they might be going through a divorce, talking about what their next steps are. The least that they're worried about is you. The second scenario is, are you sure you didn't hold the door for her because you wanted to be validated? You wanted to be the hero. Yay, Andy, what a hero, what a stud. I'm going to go and tell everyone in the office, this guy, handsome guy, helped me open the door for me and got me through there. Are you sure that's not why? Because why aren't we doing these things with nothing in return? You do them with nothing in return. He said, because if you're waiting for something in return, he said you're going to have a long and bumpy road. Because no one's going to give you the response that you think you deserve, when in a sense you don't deserve anything. That's what you should be doing. So I think that's truly what epitomizes what scouting is. You learn these traits and you do these things daily with nothing in return. In conclusion, I truly believe that scouting is about many things, but most importantly, giving back to your community and planting the seeds to adapt to both positive and negative life events. These values sure came in handy for me on August 1st, 2007, and the years since. Thank you all for taking the time out of your day to support scouting. Your support will continue to open the door and provide our youth opportunities to experience this wonderful organization. Have a great day. Do you have a second? Can I say something? Can I say something? Yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. When I was asked to do this, I went and found my Pinewood Derby car, my 4th place Pinewood Derby car. I still have it, so.
So thank you, Andy, for your inspiring message. As a small token of our appreciation, we would like to present you with an official Scouting First Aid Kit and this certificate.
Where was this year? 2007.
And this certificate that recognizes that we will provide a scout with financial assistance at a camp this coming summer in your name.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to introduce Tucha, a Life Scout from St. Paul Troop 60 in the Silver Maple District. Tucha will share a little about his experiences in scouting.
Good morning, everyone. So let's start talking about way before I started scouting and talk about why scouting has meant so much for my family and I. So my father, his parents passed away when he was just a child. So this meant he had no father figure guiding him as he grew up. I am the only son in my family, so my father was pretty excited when I told him what scouting was. He realized that scouting would really help develop me from a boy to a man. I was given a chance that he was never really given, a chance to grow alongside other young boys and have significant adult role models in his life. My father wanted me to become a man who would be able to lead others. Before scouting, I was quite the rebellious boy. I dreaded doing chores like every kid out there, and I never really found myself helping out others too much, and I was pretty disorganized as a student. Well, my parents wanted me to change, and Boy Scouts gave me the right guidelines and tools to do just that. Yes, my first opinion of Boy Scouts was that it was just something I could do to have fun and pass time, but my opinion quickly morphed, however. Yes, it is a place to have fun and go on adventures with your friends, but it was through those adventures that I learned how to help and serve others more and how to become a really helpful son and friend. My parents saw this change in me. My grades improved, and I began helping out around the house more. It made their lives 1,000 times easier, as you can imagine. You can even ask them. Well, Boy Scouts really allowed me to become someone my parents would be proud of. I was really interested in helping out other people. I learned this over the years. Like how some kids are super into games and other stuff. I really was into helping and serving others. That's a weird hobby, but I like it. There was one scout, however, who really inspired and impacted my mindset. His name is Tua Chang, and here's a picture of us. Tua, he was a scout we all looked up to. He was fun. He challenged everyone in the troop to learn all that we could through scouting. The Hmong community is still kind of new to scouting, but Tua realized that scouting was for all kids. But one day, suddenly out of the blue, Tua, he dropped out of the troop. He left. I was shocked and pretty sad. He was my best friend. In a letter he sent me, he said he was going through some family issues and his parents had gone through some pretty bad experiences with their friends. So they wanted to protect Tua by keeping him away from scouting and other activities. I was really affected seeing him go because I knew that scouting was a place for him and his family to find comfort and not hurt. He was one of the most outgoing scouts in my troop, so when he left, my troop felt really empty. We also went to different schools, so communication was really difficult. As best as I could, I continued to reach out to Tua, and I really believed that scouting was the right place for him. After a whole year of trying to convince him and nagging him, Tua came back. His family most likely realized too that our troop and scouting was kind of like an extended family for him. And I'm really excited to share that just 2 months ago, he completed his Eagle project. Can you believe that? He went from leaving this troop for almost a whole year to completing his Eagle project. Just let that sink in. In scouting, being close to all your brothers is important, but having that one best friend to keep you accountable is life-changing. I have a feeling that my constant nagging played a pretty big role in bringing him back to the troop. So I feel like I really impacted his future in a bright way. My father hoped I would become a man who would lead others. And because of scouting, I guess I have. I would like to thank everyone here because your efforts allow boys like Tua and I to become men that our friends and family are proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Tucha, for sharing your experiences with us. Please accept this hat with a built-in headlamp. As a thank you from all. Now, I would like to introduce Brian Burnett, chair of today's event, to share with you how a lake cleanup project also turned into an emergency rescue 25 feet underwater with Brian Clark family. And Brian Burnett, please come forward.
Thank you, Isaac, and good morning, everyone. It was a beautiful sunny Saturday at Juggler Lake where Brian Clark and his team of volunteers were executing his Eagle Scout project, cleaning up garbage and other items from the bottom of the lake. The plan was for the divers to find the junk, secure it to the rope, and help lug it up through the water until they could hand it off above water to an above water team who would secure it onto pontoons and transport it back to the shore. The morning had gone well, and in addition to small items, they had pulled up 19 cinder blocks and a mattress spring. That afternoon, Brian and Kevin, an adult volunteer, were underwater about 25 feet from the shoreline. Everything was going fine until one of the scouts on the pontoon saw a lot of bubbles coming up in one area. This was not a good sign. Underwater, Kevin was 25 feet below, weighted down with weights so he could search the bottom of the lake. He took a breath, he struggled, he tried again, no air. Kevin's tank was empty, and he began to panic. Brian, keeping a close eye on his partner, like he learned in his scuba training, noticed Kevin was beginning to panic. Kevin then started signaling he was out of air. Brian swam quickly, grabbed his second regulator, and shoved it to Kevin. Kevin's heart was racing. He took a deep breath. Air. Kevin took several deep breaths to calm down. Then Kevin and Brian locked arms. Brian inflated his buoyancy control device and conducted a controlled emergency swimming ascent. This is a technique involving ascending at a controlled pace while exhaling slowly. Today, Kevin is sitting with us because of Brian's quick actions. On behalf of the National Council, Boy Scouts of America, I would like to hereby convene a court of honor. The National Medal of Merit is presented to youth and adult leaders who have performed a significant act of service. On behalf of the Boy Scouts of America, it gives me a great honor to present this National Medal of Merit to Brian Clark.
Thank you, Brian, for your quick actions and dedication to keeping the community healthy, clean, and our Scouts alive. Now, I would like to call Marcus Flowers up to present the campaign challenge.
Thank you, Isaac. You know, I've been told my whole life that the older generation didn't think anything of getting up at 5 a.m. every day. Well, I can tell you from personal experience, the younger generation doesn't think too much of it either. Today, I'm here to ask you to invest in Scouting, but before you consider your gift, you should know two things. One, that new and increased gifts will be matched by a $25,000 grant from the Catherine B. Anderson Fund and a $100,000 grant from the Richard Schultz Family Foundation. The second thing you may want to know is just who I am and why I'm qualified to stand here today. I earned my rank of Eagle Scout in 2012. And since then, I went to college at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute, where I had the opportunity to be educated as an engineer. What Scouting really gave me for my endeavors is first, the passion for learning and the understanding that it was okay to be a nerd. Second, it gave me the ability to connect with a lot of other people that I wouldn't have otherwise, including my set of roommates that lasted me my whole 4 years in college, where almost all of us were Eagle Scouts from troops across the nation. And third, it gave me the confidence to pursue my career goals of being someone who can help educate others at university and really guide other people to follow their passions as Scouting helped me. My friends that have gone through Scouting with me, I still talk to them, we still support each other, and we still recognize the great things that Scouting has given each and every one of us in our lives. Look around this room. Did you know that Scouting is led 99% by volunteers? Isn't that great? So, how many organizations can say that? To Bill's point earlier, wouldn't it be great if 100% of youth were involved in Scouting? For many of you, you know firsthand how Scouting has changed you or your child. And you can see Scouting's benefits more than just the people in this room. We, everyone here, impact the same community, the entire community. Now it's time to step up for the next generation. Your leadership investment of $1,000 or just under $3 a day will cover the cost of 4 youth to join Scouting. I ask each of you to invest in Scouting and even consider doubling your past investment. And remember, if you are worried about how young people will fare in the world, there is nothing wrong with today's teenager that Scouting won't cure. Here is my pledge. Please give generously so we can help the youth be prepared for life. Table hosts, please pass out the pledge cards. I will give you a few minutes to fill out your card.
Morning, everyone. We'll do our best to end our program on time. I suspect that a lot of folks will hang around and visit. That's the nature of this event. Andy Gannon talked to us, helped us to reflect a little bit about why we do things, including supporting Scouting. Why do we do it? Is it for us? Is there a dividend? If not the customer, are we a stakeholder? I think we stick around and visit. We come early, enjoy each other's fellowship, because this is the 40th consecutive year that we've either been in this room or the room right below us in the month of December, building a stronger community. This is a fellowship. There is something in it for you. It's being with a group of people like this that change community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure to have you all join us today. Because of your support, the youth Northern Star Council serves remains strong. As you depart, please remember to return your pledge card to your table host or to the scouts at the door. Or if you would like to pick up your recognition item today, please bring your pledge card to the registration table in the lobby. And you guys know what? You guys made my experience as an MC a little bit less nerve-wracking and a lot of fun. Thank you very much.